Today we will complete the poem Ode to Autumn by doing the second half of the third stanza. So, in the beginning of the third stanza, we saw how Keats created an atmosphere of lamentation by using words like wailing, mourning, sinking, dying, and die. And in the middle of the stanza, we saw, I quote, "Then in a wailful choir, the small gnats mourn among the river sallows, borne aloft or singing or sinking as the light wind lives or dies." So here Keats talks about the sound of the gnats which seem to be mourning. Now, the sound that the gnats make is similar to the sound of wailing, and they are wailing as if these gnats are lamenting the death of the day. They are mourning the dying of the day. Now, borne aloft means to be carried up. Now, the movement of the gnats appears to be coordinated with the breeze that is blowing. So these gnats, they rise up and down with the movement of the breeze. What a beautiful picture. You can see how beautifully Keats is imagining this whole scene. So the sound of the gnat contributes to the song of autumn. The poem concludes with more animal sounds. See, we have, I quote, "and full grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne." So the next sound is of the bleating of the lambs, which can be heard from the hill. Then we also have the hedge crickets, which can be heard singing in treble soft. That is, they are singing in a soft but high note. Treble means a high note. That is a kind of a shrill voice. Next sound is of the red breast whistles from a garden croft. So you have the red breasted robin, which is a bird, and heard this bird can be heard whistling in a garden croft. Croft means an enclosed garden. And the last sound that we have is of the swallows, which can be seen in the skies, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. So, the swallows can be seen twittering as the sun goes down. Now, these birds are migratory birds and they are ready to leave as winter is approaching. So you have a number of sounds over here in the second half of the stanzas, and this alludes to the inevitable or unavoidable end of autumn and the beginning of winter. So, in the poem, one can see the transition from the first stanza, where you have the ripe and the plentiful, to the last stanza, which is the cold and the bare. Bare means the cut, the stubbled plains. So many things die during the season of autumn, and there is an inevitable tone of loss. So the images and the sounds in the final stanza are specific, but the vision is very comprehensive. Now, Keats here strikes a melancholic note, and there is the prospect of decay everywhere. The closing scene, as we just saw in the poem, is imbued with a sense of mortality. And this is true to romantic writers because Keats to learn to accept death by living in beauty, and he uses his imagination beautifully to describe the setting of nature, and he very eloquently proves the strength of his sensuous imagination. Now, through this poem, Keats makes it obvious that death is inevitable. The message here is that living things and beauty should be appreciated because one never knows how long these will last. One should appreciate the beauty of nature when alive to realize it because, as Keats himself said, a very famous quote, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. So, the reaping of the grain in the poem symbolizes death throughout the poem, and the fact that he chose autumn to write an ode on emphasizes the fact that his thoughts were on his impending death, because autumn is a time of death and change for nature. It is a part of the cycle that is most beautiful when everything is bare and life gets a chance to start over. And this ends your Ode to Autumn.